picking up good vibrations. I'm picking up good vibrations. Good, 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 good vibrations. Welcome back to Jeremiah Wonders, everybody. Hope you're feeling those good vibrations on Jeremiah Wonders Radio today. Hope you guys had a good week. I had a splendid week. I did something this week that made me just feel really, really good. I went skateboarding with, not roller skating, but I went skateboarding. That sounds so like, I went skateboarding this weekend. But yeah, no, over the week, last week on Monday, just earlier in the week, I went skating with my buddy David Deary, and I haven't been out in a long time, and it was just so much freaking fun. He's a great skater, skated way longer than me, and is way more skilled skater than I am. So he was kind of coaching me through some stuff, and I had some freaking breakthroughs. I've never dropped in before, which if you know anything about skateboarding, it's not really that big of a deal, but it's kind of scary if you don't skate very much. I always just did like simple, like, flat stuff. I do like some rail stuff, like board slides and maybe 50-50s if it was a really good day or something like that, but nothing too crazy. But I've always enjoyed skating. I just got into it like late in life, like in high school, in which if you get into something that late that's like a sport, it's pretty hard. The learning curve is pretty difficult for you. But I went with my buddy David Deary to Encino at the skate park, and through him like pushing me and like kind of coaching me, like, you can do it, like this is all in your head. It's a mental obstacle. You can push through it. I dropped in and I rocked to fakie, which is like, it's two things that I've been wanting to do for years. And I put like this mental block myself. I kept thinking that I was going to like get hurt or something like really bad was going to happen, but he encouraged me. And it was just one of those things where it felt like a mental breakthrough. It felt like after I did it, I felt like I was in the movie Inception or something, or The Matrix. I was like, oh, I can do anything I want, like literally anything I want if I put my mind to it. So it was like this positive adrenaline rush that was like flowing through my body, and I was like, it just put things into perspective. Like something I was really scared of for like a long time, I finally conquered little bits of it. So I hope to go back and do more of that with different friends. But it's just like a little thing that happened to me that I thought was super fun. So shout out to my friend David Deary for helping me out with that. I also did a super fun show at Nerd Melt this week called The Fictional Roast. And we roasted Disney villains, and I was Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Yes. Ha ha ha. It was super fun. Hopefully there will be some video of that soon. But they're shutting down another great comedy place in LA. It's like it was like one of the pinnacles of alt comedy. In the back of this comic book store called Meltdown, and they had these great shows that they did there every night, and these really fun. I did like historical roast there, fictional roast with shout out to Eddie Firth and Sammy Junio and Ryan Pig who run that show. They're going to be doing other places, which I highly recommend you check that show out. But it's just sad whenever another comedy place, IO West and then Nerd Melt, like within a couple months of each other. It's kind of crazy. Went to my buddy Ari Schneider's Jewish wedding. Yeah. And I emphasize Jewish wedding because I think I like Jewish weddings more than just regular weddings. You get to see people up on chairs. People are dancing in circles and like just like this fun, positive energy that's going around. Man, I usually don't like weddings, man, but Jewish weddings is pretty fun. It was a good time. I want to, give a shout out to my sponsors for sure. Speedweed, LA Speedweed. Thank you, Gino. Always supporting the show. Hit up @Speedweed on Twitter. It's a marijuana delivery service, so get your ganja green, sticky, icky, bicky, blueberry, yum yum, like all that stuff. Hit up Gino @Speedweed. And then I have a special thing that I want to do right now. This is, I went to Joe's Pizza this week in West Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, right next to the Comedy Store, and I told Joe that I would give him a little bit of airtime. So I've always wanted to say this. And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey guys, good morning, a raining day in LA. This is Joe from Joe's Pizza on Sunset Boulevard. And yes, this is the New York pizza. If you want to come and try a pizza, New York pizza in LA, that's where you guys coming. And yes, we welcome any competition. And of course, if you come in here and you tell me that Jeremiah sent you here, you will get a little discount. You have a great day, again from Joe's Pizza. Bye.
How cool is that? Joe from Joe's Pizza just did a freaking commercial for you on Jeremiah Wonders. I don't even consider it a commercial. I just consider it something cool to have the actual owner do like a local commercial on this podcast. It's freaking dope. And if you noticed, he said something, we welcome any competition. And there's some people that got mad at me on my Instagram because I was eating at a different pizza place this week in Santa Monica, and I was giving them a shout out because I'd never tried salad pizza before. Sounds like an oxymoron, actually really good over at Gray Block. But that guy owns that. He actually owns a different pizza company in Bend, Oregon called Bronx Born Pizza. And he said, you know what? I want to sponsor the show, but I don't want to be that guy who is stepping on any toes with pizza places in LA. I'm going to sponsor you through my shop in Bend, Oregon. It's called Bronx Born Pizza. Check them out at Bronx Born Pizza on Instagram. And we have got some really cool stuff cooking up for the podcast. I'm going to make an announcement soon, hopefully on this next episode, but he's helping me a lot with some stuff, and I can't wait to share a pretty amazing story about how this sponsorship came to be. But check that out for now, especially if you're in the Oregon area. Kindness challenge. I did want to talk about that. My kindness challenge, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, I challenge you to do something nice for a stranger or a friend, somebody in need of anything. It could be really small. My kindness was such a small thing this week. Just to show you an example, it can literally be anything. There was a bathroom attendant at this wedding that I just went to, and they work for tips a lot of times, right? And there was only like $1 or $2 in the tip jar, and it's very clear to me. I used to work jobs like that where you put your own the first couple dollars in to get it started. You know what I mean? Like, it's always your own money, and it was clear that it was just his money that he started to show people, like, hey, I accept tips, kind of thing. And I put a $5 bill in there because the guy was nice, and I was like, you know what? I usually don't tip bathroom attendants. I usually don't, I don't really have the money to be randomly tipping bathroom attendants. Not that I go to many places with bathroom attendants. You get the point, though. It can be something little, and hopefully that led to more tips for him, which improved his day and his night and his week. So that's just a little dumb thing that I did. But there's a guy who tweeted at me. I loved this. He said that there was a homeless guy that was like kind of down on his luck. He got him a slice of pizza. Heck yeah, that's what I'm freaking talking about. Bringing people joy, and especially with pizza. Heck yeah, dude. I appreciate you tweeting that at me. I wanted to read this letter that is a really cool thing that this guy Jared, he said he didn't want me to say his last name, but he sent in this letter to me to your boy Jeremiah Watkins at gmail.com, which you can do the same. I'll read some other emails as the weeks come on. This one's a little bit longer, but I wanted to read this in a voice which I think is maybe what this guy sounds like. That's what I want to start doing with the letters, is my take on what they possibly sound like. So this is like my imagination stirring right here. So I'm going to read you that letter right now. Hey, Jeremiah. I wanted to share my story of grand kindness to strangers since you always express doing so on your podcast. I was in the process of finding a place for this for approximately 6+ months before it worked out in an odd way last month. As you know, I have a type of leukemia. Full name is Philadelphia chromosome positive chronic myelogenous leukemia, or for short, PH plus CML. I was on one type of oral chemo for around 4 years. In that time, I managed to somehow accumulate a ton of the drug in its boxes, sealed, etc. Oh, and there was a year's supply that I had left. But I was getting lots of side effects, so we switched to a different oral chemo drug. The original drug was between $8,300 to $12,000 per month supply. My insurance amazingly covered it, as they do for the new drug, which is $13,500 to $15,000 monthly. So I had all of this medication, which I wanted to get to someone who was in need and unable to pay, nor had coverage, but my luck in the States was no good. Then I began thinking internationally. Countries where treatment was maybe difficult to get, I thought of Venezuela. As soon as I did, I began getting messages from Venezuela. Aria posts on Instagram showing all the boxes of meds I had. I did all I could to make sure it wasn't just a scammer who was going to sell it on the black market. They currently can't even get aspirin without violent gangs and high prices, which the dictator Maduro made that way. So cancer patients can forget it. So I'm able to see this guy's IG page, his family, etc. All appears good. We spoke for a while. It's for his mother, who was on the drug 14 years before Maduro took power. He showed me to her Venezuelan doctor's script in Spanish, but the written part was clear enough that I knew what it was for. So the point is that after I felt 100% confident they were legit, I met with a family member who is in LA and gave all 50 boxes to him. He has a friend in the Red Cross in Colombia, which is allowed to cross into Venezuela with meds. They brought the chemo to my guy, and now they have a solid year supply of life-saving medication, which can be stretched out if she takes a somewhat lower daily dose. Even better is that I was first dealing with a girl also in Venezuela who needed the same medicine, but the language barrier made it very difficult to get it to her. Plus, I couldn't just ship a box full of meds to her. It would surely get snagged at customs. So it turns out these two live only 10 to 20 minutes from each other. So I asked the guy to do me one favor in return and to contact her and arrange something where he would give some of the boxes of meds to her. And he did. The whole thing made me feel great about everything I did, and that at least 2 people will live healthier and longer because of that medicine. So that's that. I felt you'd enjoy my story of kindness. Keep those podcasts coming. I really do love it. The call-ins are hilarious, and it's been all great guests. Todd Glass was great. See you soon. Peace. Jared. How freaking cool is that? Man, what a story. This guy sending his own medication that he can't use. He wants to send it to a good cause. He made it happen. Got it to somebody in another country, technically pretty illegally, but it's going to help save their lives. And that's what I'm freaking talking about. That's why I love this kindness challenge. It's so cool. And thank you guys for sending me stories like that. And tweet at me, comment on Instagram, send me emails, do it all. It's freaking cool. I'll read them on the podcast. I really enjoy it. Another thing that I wanted to do, and this is a challenge for me. I want you guys to comment on Instagram or Twitter at Jeremiah Standup. Hit me up on that, or email me at your boy jeremiahwatkins@gmail.com. Some impression and singing challenges. If you want me to sing a cover of a song or do an impression of a celebrity, I want to work on it, and I'm going to try to do them on the podcast at some point. I want to start integrating some interaction with some celebrity impressions or characters that you would like to see pop up on the show. And they can be characters that you've already heard me do on Kill Tony, and you want me to try to integrate them onto Jeremiah Wonders. We'll see what can happen organically. That would be fun, though. I appreciate all the reviews as well, guys. Thank you so much for reviewing on iTunes, all the comments, the 5-star ratings. That does help. If you haven't done it yet, head over to iTunes. Do it for me. And whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on, I hope you're enjoying it. The ratings help a lot, so I appreciate it. And tell a friend what you're listening to. Heck yeah. Let's get through some upcoming show dates, and we'll get right into this episode with Josh Wolf. Man, he's another guest who dived right in, and his sax talk is really cool.
on this one. It's a little special treat. Nobody's quite done it like him yet, which I appreciate. Putting a new spin on thing. Upcoming shows, April 5 through 7. Kill Tony is in Arizona. That's right. April 10th, Stand Up on the Spot. Come see it at the Comedy Store every second Tuesday of the month. Hit me up. That's my baby. That's my show. It's so much fun. It's some of the best comics in the world doing material you've never seen before and they've never even done before on stage through your suggestions. So much fun. April 13th through 15th, I'm recording the Reagan and Watkins album with my boy Patty Reagan up in Ventura. Full band in the studio. It's going to happen. Can't wait to leak some singles your way. We're going to be doing some music videos and stuff for that coming up as well. Super excited to share that with you guys. April 19th through 21st, I'm in Moon Tower in Austin, Texas. I'm there doing stand-up on the spot. I'm there doing the goddamn comedy jam. I'm there doing stand-up shows. I'm there doing Big J Okerson's crowd work show. It's going to be a freaking blast. If you're in Austin, definitely get a pass to Moon Tower. Such an amazing festival. I love it. April 22nd is a festival called Broke LA. The Wave is headlining a show on April 22nd, Sunday, right after I get back in town from Austin. And then April 27th through 28th, I'm with the Golden Pony. Wise Guys, Salt Lake City, Utah. Golden Pony and the Golden Goose together once again. I'm featuring for him. Those are always awesome shows. Come see us. And then Josh Wolf mentions a show that he's about to start doing on Twitch. That's going to be on Tuesdays. So check that out. Check out Josh Wolf's Twitter and stuff like that. And do it up, guys. I appreciate all the love on this show. Thank you for all the positive feedback. And email me or whatever with any guests that you're trying to get on the show. I've got some fun ideas for some guests coming up. And without further ado, I would like to present to you my episode of Jeremiah Wonders with Josh Wolf.
Listen, man, I'm not going to be able to pay you this week because, I spent your money on, blowing hookers, okay?
In that order?
Yeah.
Probably true.
This is just Craig Glazer just calling into the show. I'm sorry, man. I know that you expect to get paid for headlining 19 shows in Kansas City this weekend, but...
How come you post-dated the check till 2022?
You know, that's probably when it'll be good. By then, we gotta wait on it just a little bit.
By that time, are you going to buy a toupee that's not crooked?
Well, if the King of Sting movie comes out, then I might be able to afford a different one. But for now, I'm just going to keep it as is.
Okay, I just want to tell you, you've been wearing that one backwards. That's actually the back, and the front is in the back.
Wait, the tag goes in the back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that little thing, those are called bangs. Those are supposed to be in front.
Yeah, well, I always like to bang from behind, you know what I'm saying? Hell yeah, bro, hell yeah.
Oh, Craig Glazer.
Oh, man, Craig Glazer. What
comedy king.
Comedy king, King of Sting of Kansas City.
That was, for those, because most people probably don't know his voice.
I have no idea. Oh, yeah.
But that's spot on. Like, I can do two impersonations. I can do Droopy Dog, and I can do my neighbor, Jeff. But nobody knows Jeff. But you just have to take for granted.
Wait, I would like to know what Jeff sounds like.
Oh.
Is Jeff... Wait, I think he's calling into the show, actually.
Hey, is Josh Wolf there? Can you tell him that his music is too loud in the backyard? It's keeping my kids awake.
What kind of music is he playing?
Oh, I can't really even hear it. It's just the kids say they can hear it, and it's really distracting them from their homework and their sleep.
Oh, okay. I can tell Josh to try to maybe turn it down.
Yeah, also his car. Sometimes he comes home late at night, and he's playing his music loud, and I think my kids can hear that too.
I'm sorry. It sounds like you're living next to a real rebel.
It's not really that. I'm nosy as fuck, and I keep my window open, and I wait for him to make some noise so I can call him and go, "Stop making noise!"
Well, at least you're really honest and straightforward with your personality quirks. That's, somebody being that honest. Like, just laying it out on the line like that,
Yo, he is legitimately... Like, I'll be in my backyard. And, I do these things from my backyard called high lives.
Yeah.
Well, I just get high, and I get on my Facebook fan page, and I go live. And I'm just high. And I'm talking to people, and
But wait, what's the premise, though?
Exactly.
I'm not following.
It's pretty simple.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So, and by the way, and the fence in my backyard is like the 405 for animals. For whatever reason, that is the Critter Express.
What kind of animals are we talking here, Josh?
do you wanna know?
I would like to know.
Possum,
Okay.
raccoon,
Okay.
squirrel,
Okay.
one cat who seems intent on catching all three of these animals, and an animal that I am not going to go ahead and say what it is yet,
Okay.
because it was bigger than a cat, and I would think bigger than a raccoon, but pretty sure dogs aren't walking on the tops of fences.
Might be a badger.
In Encino? that one dude in the everybody's nice neighborhood.
Right,
I'm
right,
convinced has one dude who has like 4 animals he shouldn't have.
Oh, dude, there's always that guy with like one exotic animal that's like, how did you get that here?
Yeah, and you're like, he said to his wife, "Have you seen the badger?" What? The badger? I think the badger got out. Like,
Yeah.
but that's why in Florida, like when people say, "I found a 74-foot python under my house," like.
Somebody's bringing these into these different cities.
And then they just decide they
And then
don't
they're like,
want it.
I think this is kind of a high maintenance pet.
But here's what's crazy.
I
Like,
have to have to feed the snake goats and stuff.
yeah, right. When it gets big enough, that people's brain, they're like, well, I don't want it anymore. So I guess I'll just let it out in the wild where people live. It's the stupidest. Just kill it.
Do you ever think like whenever you see like boa constrictors, or not boa constrictors, like pythons like swallow like animals or people, like just as a man, like have you ever thought like I could freaking break through that?
Yeah.
Like once you're inside, you'd be like, I have that that dream of just like I have a knife on me and I'm just gonna cut it open from the inside and just like crawl out and be like
Total Ant-Man it, just like pow, and
Yeah.
come out big. Listen, as a man, there are tons of situations where you're like, man, if some dude came to my door,
this happened to me, dude.
you know what will happen? You know what, bro? That dude will get a left and he'd get a right. And and honestly, have you ever seen yourself fight?
No, I mean, I haven't really fought ever. So yeah,
There's
it'd
how
probably
you
be pretty
think you look.
embarrassing. Oh,
There's how you think you look.
Uh-huh.
And the Rocky music is playing behind you. You're dun, 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 and you're like fucking throwing jabs. Sa, 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 and then look, I will tell you that confidently, I'll tell you my fight record is like 4-8. 5-7, because one time I was on the winning team, but I lost.
but now are you usually the one to initiate these, or do you have a quick temper? You got kind of guy with a quick temper.
Neither. I am.
I just find myself in these
Well,
situations.
It's when I was younger, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so, and I used to drink. I don't really drink anymore. I'm just a weed guy. And, I grew up with 3 older brothers. So I don't have a really good idea of when I should stop talking. Right? And not only that,
So is there a guy usually that would interact with you, be like, this guy needs to shut up, and you're like, come on.
okay, so I'm going to tell you a great story. I think the dude who beat me up actually might be on the phone.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, I see this coming up on the caller ID. Hello, thanks for calling in to Jeremiah Wonders.
Yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good. I was just talking to, I think you know him, Josh Wolf. He said that you got in a fight with him a while back.
Yeah, I guess if you won't call it a fight. Old boy didn't put up much of a fight, if you know what I mean.
What did you do to him?
Well, he was making fun of me in a bar, and I didn't like it too much, and I wasn't smart enough to say anything back to him because that's not my strength, my smarts. And so he made fun of me one time, and my girlfriend laughed in my face.
Do you remember what Josh said to you that kind of triggered that, where your girlfriend was laughing in your face?
Yeah, he mentioned something about how tight my jeans were and that they still couldn't see my dick, and was wondering if I had tucked it or just not brought it with me that night.
I mean, that's a very specific observation from Josh.
Well, he was sitting right across from me, and I had said something about suck my dick, and he had said, listen, I wouldn't offer that to people if it's not visible from this situation.
Now, so you initiated the suck my dick initiation.
Well, he had said something to me again that had made me angry, and suck my dick was the only thing that I could think of in response.
Because it seems like you're a really smart guy.
Well, most of my brain is in my hands. My hands know what to do.
I've heard that some people are born
Brain
with that.
hands.
Yeah, brain hands.
I got brain hands because my hands generally know what to do. My head does not.
Right. It follows suit, right?
Yeah. My hands don't wear suits. So I don't know if that seems weird to have little hand suits.
Yeah.
You have ties on your hands, Jeremiah?
No, sometimes I'll tie a string just to remember something, like like in It's a Wonderful Life, the guy who's the bank teller at that.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, it's a classic American film that I used to watch every year. But anyway, I digress.
You sure it's American? I haven't seen it. You sure it's American?
Jimmy Stewart.
I don't. Is that the race car driver?
We're getting warmer.
Oh, the race car driver,
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
He does have a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in a bar,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically told him that it was time for him to step outside and take his whooping like a man.
Now, was he eager, or was this whenever he kind of recoiled back a little bit? He tried to joke his way out of it. He seems like a funny comedian kind of guy.
Yeah, neither. He didn't seem eager to fight, but he also seemed like the kind of guy that had just was unwilling to back down.
Mm-hmm. Did he have any friends with him that he was kind of showing off for?
He had 4 friends with him who stood off to the side.
Oh, so they didn't do anything.
They did not.
Oh, it sounds like he had a good group of friends with him.
Well, I happen to have 4 friends with me who were all larger than everybody in his group.
Oh, so you guys were ready to square off.
We weren't scared, and apparently his friends were. And so what happened was he took a swing when I wasn't ready, and he hit me right in the jaw.
And now, how did you react to that?
Well, my head turned for a second, but I didn't budge and my feet didn't move. And I turned back to him and I said, "Son, you're going to have to do better than that."
And now, how scared was Josh
I
whenever
don't believe
you
I've
looked
seen
into...
fear on someone's face like that before. He clearly knew that there was no chance for him moving forward in this particular... And then my brains took over.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Your hand brains.
My hand brains took over because they know what to do.
Right.
And I proceeded to give him a whooping, but I never really let him hit the ground. I kept picking him up and talking to him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the things that you were saying as you...
Josh doesn't remember many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I can only assume.
But do you remember?
Yeah, I think I said you ought to be careful about who you pick fights with, because sometimes you're gonna end up like this. Pop. Oh, you can't fall down yet. I'm not done talking to you.
So very much like you were telling like a story inside of a screenplay as you were punching him.
Yeah, it was. Might as well have said enter.
Exterior bar.
Josh's face hits the ground.
Yeah, it was an ass kicking. It was an ass kicking. But my problem is, man, is that I not only have 3 older brothers, so I enjoy the verbal.
Yeah, the jousting, the back and forth. Of course, that's part of the fun.
But I'm also, because I had 3 older brothers, I'm just not good at saying, okay, I'm going to walk away. If someone says, you're a pussy, not anymore. I'm a grown-up now. But back then, I was still kind of in it. And if someone says you're a pussy, then I just got to be
What are you, McFly?
Yeah.
Chicken?
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody calls me chicken.
Who did a better I haven't hit puberty yet voice? Michael J. Fox or Kirk Cameron?
Oh, that's really good question.
Kirk Cameron's, he kept pretty consistent for that entire show.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like that, just milking it here and there. You know?
Pretty good. But Michael J. Fox, I
He
feel like
he
used his
the
better.
moments.
Yeah, don't you think so?
Yeah.
Cameron was more consistent, and he did it all of the time.
He also had to do it, you know, if we're looking at the length of a film, but over seasons of television too.
Do you ever, as somebody who does voices, do you ever watch cartoons or even things like Seinfeld with guys like Kramer?
Yeah.
Or George? and see how throughout their seasons the character changes, whether their voice or their mannerisms, just a little bit. Like early season Kramer as opposed to fourth season Kramer is a different person.
Very different. I've noticed that in sitcoms for quite a while.
Why do you feel that is? When you're making up a character, right? Why does it seem to even out a little bit and not be as extreme as the time goes on?
Well, I think it could be one of two things, because sometimes you'll see in sitcoms the characters become more extreme. And that's whenever I feel like they're playing to the audience, where they're like, they didn't really know what exactly the character was, but they're finding what works with the audience and the viewers. So they'll start hitting those notes a little bit harder as the seasons progress. But I think for the most part, it's like coming up with like characters and different stuff like that. You're just kind of figuring out like which things that you want to continue to do with it and how to expand it. So you might start off a little bit too hot and you're like, oh, I need to ground this a little bit more. Or you'll heighten it a little bit later as seasons progress.
So maybe sometimes with guys like Kramer, he auditions or however, and he looks at the log line and goes, oh, this dude is bing at 10 all the time. And then as the season goes, he was like, he needs a little humanity.
Well, you need more depth as well, because people don't gravitate towards these one-dimensional characters, because that becomes a one-note thing. That's the difference between seeing like a character on Saturday Night Live that you only see one time versus somebody that they can bring back. It's a little bit more of a three-dimensional character that people kind of feel like they know, maybe, or there's nuances in the character that people are like, I believe that could be a real person, or I know somebody like that.
Well, when you make characters, how do you decide if you go, oh, this dude's gonna stick, this guy's gonna stick around? Is there a sign for you even before you show it to an audience where you're like, I like this guy, I'm gonna work him for a little while?
Yeah, there's definitely there's definitely times where I'll be excited to do a character, and like before I've even gone out to do it, and I'll be like, I have it, like my gut will be like, I think this is there's something there with this one. And then it's usually like we do Kill Tony every Monday, which you've done multiple times. On that show, we do new characters every single week. So some we do once and never again, and then there's some though that we've started to have recurring characters on the show where we're like, we're gonna bring back those guys or those girls. And
is some of it be what you like, or is some of it just like the audience is like, some of
it is what I like, but there's a handful that surprise me that people will tweet at me or post on Instagram. Like I did one recently called Cat Burglar that we were 4 cat burglars that came on the show. But after everything this guy said, he's just like, cat burglar.
And you never know why.
And I don't, like you don't know why certain things work, but like no matter what, if I bombed with a joke or whatever, like this guy would just be like excited to be there, and he'd be like, cat burglar.
You know what's funny is that I tell a story, and it is a 17-minute story. And there's part of this, it's about going to Old Cella a couple years back. And how when I was there was a woman in her mid-60s with her husband, mid-60s.
You said Old Cella?
It's Coachella for old people.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify for the listeners.
It was Old Cella.
Okay.
Yeah. It was The Who, The Stones, McCartney, Neil Young, Roger Waters, Bob Dylan, all in the same place.
Yeah, it's great.
Old Cella.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I took mushrooms.
I know. I was just curious which artist performed there that year.
The oldest.
Yeah.
I think Bob Dylan is the oldest living person who's still singing into a microphone. Tony Bennett. But so I'm there, and there's a woman who, and I told the stories a couple times, and this woman next to me was scratching her husband's back for the entire show, the first night, 2.5 hours. So the first time I told the story, I started talking about this woman next to us who scratched this dude's back for 2.5 hours. And I just made this noise with a scratching. How would you describe that? A scratching.
Yeah.
To make it look like she was scratching his back. But I do it on stage. I mimic it.
Right.
But I make the noise. Shh, 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 shh. Okay. So I do it once. And it gets a giggle. But I know that I'm going to be referencing her scratching the entire time.
Right.
So I don't just want to do this. I want to give it a noise. you know, and it ends up being, as I do it throughout the story, it builds and every time it gets a bigger laugh.
Yeah.
And it's one of those comedy things where you're like, I have no idea why they're laughing. Isn't that bizarre? When you find those things where you're like, I don't even know why this is a joke, but they're laughing. I don't know if it's the specific spot in the story.
Right.
I don't know if it's the noise. Like, you never really know with things like that. And like, you don't know why cat burglar at the end works, but it's a happy accident. You find it and you're like, well, I'm in, which is why, man, like, I'm so envious. And also, I have so much respect for what you do, dude, because there's no way to be successful in this town unless you take risks and have balls. There's zero chance. And you have to fail. You have to be able to put something out there and have nobody laugh and go, okay. And instead of shrinking into your shell, you have to use it as a learning experience and be like, all right, well, that doesn't work, so I'm going to try this one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely
But dude,
my
you have to have a
is-
thick skin. You have to have a thick skin for that. Not everybody can do that shit.
No, I've done many act outs over the years where I'm like da 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 da, and I'm doing jazz hands and everything. And I'm
What
getting,
about the one you know 100% is going to work?
I'm like, this is funny, man.
And you can't wait to get to the end. You get to the end and it's like crickets. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and I'm just like,
I guess I'm quitting
okay,
comedy tonight.
well, if you didn't like that one, then how about this one?
Yeah.
That's my mentality. It's like, oh, you didn't like that? Okay, I got some other stuff for you.
How long did it take you to grow the skin, man? Because you have to develop that skin.
Yeah, well, I have a weird the only way I can describe it is I have this weird shut-off valve in my brain that whenever I am committing to something, I know that it's funny. Maybe it's not fully formed yet.
Yep.
And maybe it's not there yet, but I know inherently there's something funny about that. So I'm going to see it through. And if it gets nothing, then I have to reanalyze and be like, okay, I'm either not setting it up right, I'm not executing something right, or it might just need some editing. Like, it's usually one of those three things.
But you go all in on everything,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, and I'm sure you can think of some people too. You know, I can think of a couple comics where I watch, and I can watch their whole set and be like, half those laughs they got on confidence alone. They got on confidence.
That's an interesting thing. Which I'll see some comics where
And
I'm
that's
like,
not a negative, by the way, but that's
Right.
part of being a comic. Like,
Yeah.
people want to laugh at somebody who's telling them, hey, this is funny.
right.
And that confidence carries you a long way.
It helps. The only thing that's bad about it is every once in a while, we'll see comics around that have the confidence but not the jokes,
Yeah.
and then you're just a comedian in the back just cringing so hard. You're like, this guy's getting laughs over like this garbage that's being spewed on stage.
So crazy.
So I'm hoping, I always hope that whenever I analyze, like, all right, let's make sure that there's still quality in this bit before I keep pounding it over and over until, you get that diamond.
Yeah.
It's literally like charcoals in the diamond, like finding those bits,
That's how I do stories, man. That's
Yeah.
how I do stories is I take
I'm sure you tell the really long version first.
I tell
every detail.
Yeah, every detail, because for me,
You don't know what's going to trigger the little laughs here and there, or they could
Yes.
take you down certain roads.
and like for me, the truth is always funniest. So
Yeah.
they're like the shh.
If people can tell that it's based on a reality that it's
They're on
true,
board.
and then you just happen to be heightening it, people love that.
I have a video online right now that just got posted last week or something crazy like that. It's a joke I've been telling for years. I don't even tell it on stage anymore. I'm about an hour and a half or 2 hours past material wise on that. And All Things Comedy just put it on their Facebook page. It's got 7 million views.
Whoa. Congrats. That's amazing.
But
Out of nowhere.
it's a story, and I've always been scared to put my stories up because mine are 10 to 15 minute long stories. And I
And
always
you're like, are people going to stay in it?
nobody
like
watches.
people are ADD.
Yeah. But it's some of the comments, and I tried not to read any of the comments, but some of them were like, I like this story. You can tell it happened. Like, that stuff is
People
important
like
to
that.
people. It's important
Yeah.
to people. Now, on the other end, there's Kevin Hart. who just tells the most ridiculous,
Yeah. Chappelle,
but he tells it with the most confidence in the world, and you're like, I'm fucking on board.
It doesn't
for this.
matter at that point.
I'm on board for this. I'm on board for this.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, man. I find for me storytelling is easy because at the end of the day, even if it's not funny, if the story's compelling, at least I didn't bomb.
Interesting.
Right?
See, that's interesting that you say that because I have some bits that are more story-like, but I don't tell many like longer stories in my act because to me, it's almost the opposite where I feel like this is a weird mentality to think where if I bomb with a personal story, I'm like, they don't think my life is funny. They don't think it's... I'm like, they hate me. Yeah, they hate me.
Yeah.
Like whenever I create a bit or a character, I'm like, oh, they don't like that character. That's not me. Isn't that a weird way of...
Well, I would tell you this. Two things to that. One, your characters, though, when you commit 100%, I think that it's the same thing when people listen to a story that may not be fully formed. They're like, all right, it's not fully formed, but that's an entertaining story. Okay, there may not be a ton of jokes with that character yet, but he's all in. That's a good character. Do you know what I mean? People are still entertained
right.
by what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot what I was going to say because I was high. Not I'm high because I smoke so much weed and my memory is really bad. Well, you were talking about yeah, I'm done. That's how quickly that happens. Usually I carry like a notepad with me.
We were talking about the All Things, how they upload the story and...
Yeah, don't worry about it.
That's gone?
Yeah. Hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
I think we're going to call her right now.
My idea just called in.
Oh, wait. Josh's former idea? Are you calling on the show right now?
Yeah, I have no idea where I am.
Wait,
It's
am
dark.
I talking to the inside of Josh's mind right now?
Yeah, it's dark in here.
Wait, what's going on in there?
Not a lot.
Now,
It's just me right now.
are you seem really scared, like it's a hostage situation.
I hear a lot of sounds, and I'm swimming around in some stuff. I don't know what it is, but I can't really see anybody else. I really want to come back up to the top, but there's a lot of weight pushing me down.
No, Josh's ideas.
contact
Are you
high
are you getting any other things forming around you? Do you see anything happening? You said it's pretty dark in there. Is it radio silence in there?
Well, I see a piece of pizza.
Okay.
And that's about all I see. Oh, no, wait. No, that's it. That's all I got. Yeah, I just see a piece of pizza. Shh. Oh, no. Somebody's coming. It's another idea. I gotta go.
Wait. I kind of want to hear from that other idea.
Oh, you're not allowed to hear from him anymore, baby.
Oh, okay. Who is this sassy idea that's coming over?
This is who in charge up here, man.
Oh, you have a wow. It's interesting that
Hard to say if it's a man or a woman.
Well,
Hard to say.
all that I know is that it's a sassy black gay man or woman that runs Josh Wolf's mind.
I think bald with hoop earrings. Just me in a flower shirt, but still could be man or woman, baby. I'm not sure.
Now this idea. What were you? What are you about? What can you tell me about yourself?
I can tell you that I'm about disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, when there is another idea in here, I like to push it down.
Oh.
I like to be the only idea, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say? You have the floor.
Oh, I don't say anything. I just fuck up everybody else's deal.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I don't say anything. I'm just the one who pushes the other shit down.
Okay.
Yeah. I swim in the weeds.
So you're the guy that takes whenever a conversation's smoothly going along, you just like to derail it real quick.
I stick my foot right in that ass.
Yeah, that's how I feel sometimes. My memory is like, and so I can feel something coming up, and then it's like something swings around from the back of my head and goes.
Dude, we did that episode of Doug Loves Movies together, and it was so funny. You were
so
ridiculously high. Like, and this is on stage to paint a picture for the listeners. We are on stage in front of a sold-out theater.
Dude, I might have been higher than almost I've ever been in my life.
I've never seen you that high before. It was pretty entertaining to watch because you were there was 12 guests for this Christmas episode, and Josh was in front of me, and I was behind him, and I was just like looking at him throughout the show, and I'm like, he is so gone.
And the first question I got wrong on purpose.
To get out of there.
Oh, because we had already been there for like 2 hours before the questions came around. And then I told my wife, I'm like, I'm not gonna last. I'm not gonna lie. I hope this game is over.
I got
with.
out the first round. Too.
Did you? As soon as the question
Dude,
came up.
I mean,
It was two. But I tell you, your Michael Caine crushed
that was
that
fun.
night.
That was super fun.
It really crushed that night.
Doug set it up so perfectly because he did a not good Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And it was a chance for me to just come in, and they were talking about the Dark Knight and everything. I was like, oh my goodness. I already talk about that in my act a little bit. Like, that's one of the impressions I do in my act.
What's your 3 best impressions?
Ooh.
The ones you're most confident. Oh, I'm going to ask you 2 separate questions. What voice do you feel most comfortable improvising with, and is that different than your best voice?
That is.
Really?
I think so. Well, that's kind of hard to say. There's certain impressions that you don't have down yet, as like whenever you're getting the voices down that much, where it's harder to improvise within because
you're still worried about what you sound like.
Yeah, because whenever it takes you out of it. When it's one of those things, like whenever you start thinking about, like, when you're on stage and let's say you're showcasing for some people or whatever, and you start thinking about that certain people are in the room, or you start thinking about how the set is going, you're done. As soon as you start thinking about that stuff, you're out of it because you're not 100% dialed in. That's kind of how it is with an impression. Like, if you don't have just the bare bones of the voice and down and your point of view, if you don't have the point of view of the character down, then it's harder to improvise because you're not on a steady base to like keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what would your voice be?
The one that I get the most that people are like, that is like, I'm listening to it, as some of my singing impressions, because like I do a Kings of Leon in my act, and weeks after shows, people say I cannot not think of you whenever I hear that song now.
Dude, that's so I do songs in my act. And I do, you know what's funny? When I bring my guitar on stage, dude, I can see people's faces. Oh, this fucking guy with a guitar.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It has that
bad connotation to it.
Yeah, a little bit.
So
just from years of the 90s of people shoving it down people's throats.
So I do 45, 50 minutes of stand-up first.
Yeah.
Don't touch the guitar.
Yeah.
But then I do some parodies.
Sure.
And the same way as you, people will be like, oh, I just heard that song, but I can only hear you talking about, that dude with the small dick or whatever it is.
Right.
And I love that.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, my ideology with comedy has always been, it doesn't have to, like, maybe I won't be the funniest comic that you saw on the lineup tonight.
But
Maybe
you're
not.
gonna remember me.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I will hopefully be the most memorable.
Yeah.
That is what I care about. Because you see people here at any of the clubs around Los Angeles, anywhere in the U.S., where they'll see a handful of comics and they'll be like, that guy was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, what did they talk about? And they go, well, he did that thing. He did that thing with that. They cannot tell you.
No.
They cannot tell you any of the substance or anything within their act. They just killed for 15 or 20 minutes, and it's just like, it's just like laugh receptors going off in their brain, like just like pleasure going off, where it's almost like using a vibrator or something like that, where it's like, okay, well, that's not the real thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree with you, man. I have a
I
friend
would
of mine.
much rather be memorable than just destroy all the time, and then people just be like, yeah, that guy's funny, but I don't really remember like his bits.
I have a friend of mine, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he goes on the road, and clubs will tell me, man, he crushes, but he cannot sell a ticket. And it's
because of that.
I've said to
truly
them,
believe it's that.
I agree. I've said to them, what's your favorite joke? And they're like, I can't pinpoint. And one guy was like, is he the guy who tells that joke about? I'm like, no, that's not him.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's why I tell stories. Well, also because
people can really relate to stories too.
I'm also not a great, if I'm being honest with you, I'm not a great joke writer. It's straight jokes. I took a job once writing on Are You Smarter Than Fifth Grader when it was in syndication for 2 reasons. One, I knew that I had to write because we shot 4 or 5 shows a day. and I had to write a joke for every question, which means I had to write 30 to 50 jokes about math.
Oh my!
You remember all the questions.
Yeah.
So anytime Foxworthy had a question, I had to be able to write a joke about that question. And I took the job for two reasons. Not because I wanted to get better at writing jokes, but two, I just told my manager, I'm like, hey, I'll take the gig. They said, you want more money? I said, no, just tell Foxworthy he used to talk to me about comedy for half an hour a day, or else I'm not doing the gig.
Whoa.
And he was like, you'd rather have that than the money? I go, yeah, dude, that money's not going to change my life. But this dude is one of the greatest comics of all time.
That's a cool, and they did it?
Well, look, I knew, no, 100%. I knew Foxworthy a little bit, not good enough to ask him this question, but I knew him a little bit. I had opened for him before, and so they were like, hey, this is what Josh wants. What
do you think?
Yeah, and he was like, all right.
That's cool, man.
But he was like, man, why did you take this over money? I'm like, because I'm going to learn more from you than that extra $1,000 a week can do for me.
I think we're getting a phone call right now. Is it? Wow, Jeff Foxworthy is calling in right now.
Joshua!
How you doing, man?
Might be better if, things were different in my life. But things are good. Things are good.
Oh, things not going well?
Oh, well, I'm not hosting Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader anymore.
Well, that's true. Are you still counting all that money?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And what are you doing with yourself right now?
Oh, just sipping on a koozie of beer. I sometimes just fill up the koozies with the beer. I'm like, why do you need a plastic cup when you got a good old koozie right there?
Really cuts out the middleman, doesn't it?
Sometimes there's a hole in the bottom, and I just treat that like my own personal beer bong.
Yeah, it doesn't really keep the when you pour the beer directly into the koozie, it doesn't keep it as cold as you want it to, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I just like it because the hole in the bottom of the koozie is like the belly button of beer bottles.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that beer bottles had belly buttons.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't. But we talk so many times every day about comedy. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and now, Jeff, when we were talking about comedy, you told me, just get on stage. Always get on stage. So you be getting on stage a lot?
Oh, you could say that, yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, you could say that.
Oh, thank you. And I understand you've been traveling some with Larry the Cable Guy. How are those shows going?
It's pretty good. That guy is one tough sucker to follow. That guy's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But it's weird talking to that guy off stage because he don't really talk like that.
No,
he's not. That's a character he playing.
Yeah.
And I'm just being me, baby.
Dude, see you on one time. I used to open up for a Cable Guy. I got to tell you the story before I forget.
Yeah, we lost Jeff Foxworthy anyway. He dropped out. I don't know what happened.
So, listen, he's a hard dude to follow for sure. I used to tour with him. And, his accent's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my daughter, I don't know how to, this is a long story. I'm going to try to short it. My daughter, when she was 14, she was online and she was like, oh my God, I fell in love with this Travis guy. Oh my God. I'm like, you can't fall in love online. She's like, I love him. We're soulmates. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I was opening for Larry the Cable Guy in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, which happened to be 1,000 miles, maybe, not 1,000 miles, an hour and a half away from this dude's little hometown that my daughter had fallen in love with. So I was like, all right, tell him to meet us at the show and let's meet him. Because I knew 100%. You want to know why I knew it wasn't him? Why the dude, whoever showed up at the arena wasn't going to be the person who sent the picture to my daughter? Because when I said, have him send a picture so we know what he looks like. He sent a photoshopped picture of 21 Jump Street Johnny Depp.
Oh, my goodness.
So my daughter's like, isn't he handsome? I'm like, oh, no, he's really handsome. But that's Johnny Depp. I mean, but she doesn't know 21 Jump Street Johnny Depp. So
right. Oh, man, that is so creepy.
So I don't want to blow him up now because I want to prove the lesson when we get there.
Of course.
So
you want to be the good dad in the situation where you're like, sweetie,
100%.
I gotta show you like how dangerous things can be.
100%. Now this kid also. So when he shows up, I'm gonna give you the truncated version. When he shows up, he's not. Plus, my daughter had told me she'd never been kissed before, and she wanted him to be her first kiss. So then now it also turns into
and they met through online, just like random.
Yeah, through it was called Gaia, which was like an anime website.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be a good dad. Plus, how cool is it coming of age wise for a dad to be able to take his daughter on a road trip and get her first kiss? Like for me, that was super cool also. Either he turns out to be a troll and I'm right, or she gets her first kiss and I'm the fucking hero.
Right.
It's a
win-win situation
it's a
for you, especially. I'm
win
either going to prove her
wrong.
Sure, yeah, prove her wrong.
And I'm the smartest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Or she gets a kiss and I'm the fucking greatest dad who's ever
Yeah,
lived. This is like a win-win for me.
Either way, you're going to be like, owned!
So we show up. Man, when I tell you this dude walked up and she's holding a picture of Johnny Depp and she's like, do you see him? I'm like, no, I don't see him, but I see some other motherfuckers this guy might be.
Yeah.
I see this kid walking up with his dad and I'm like, oh, this is the kid. He is, emoed out. He doesn't look like he's seen sunlight in like, I don't know.
But it was like
Not
a
Johnny
teenager
Depp.
as well.
It was a teenager and not Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
We knew it was a teenager. I didn't tell you the part of the story where we called his trailer to make sure that he was a teenager.
Okay,
and,
cool.
And talk to his mom.
I was just curious. Okay, great.
And talk to his
I'm
mom.
like, this, without that little detail, could be pretty dangerous.
Sorry,
All right, perfect.
Talk to his mom. When we called him on the phone, I go, hey, is this Travis? And he goes, yeah. I go, this is Josh. It's Caitlin's dad. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, yeah. I go, hey, is your mom or dad there? And he goes, yeah, hold on 1 second. And he goes, let me get my mom. This is a quote. Let me get my mom. She's on the other side of the trailer. And I go, okay. And I hear him go, Mom! Oh, will you just put the Taco Bell down for once? And I was like, oh, this dude's been rejected for Taco Bell before. Like, for once. That means he's tried to wrestle the Taco Bell out of her hands more than one time. Dude, the entire... Anyways, to
just imagine just like this emo kid just be like, Mom, will you take a look at me? I've been drawing this custom anime drawing. Can you stop with the Taco Bell for 1 second, Mom?
Dude, there's so many great moments in this story. I'm not going to get into it because it's so long. Let's move past the fact.
Right, so you show up to the concert.
Let's move past the fact, and I'm not going to get to the fact that the kid was not what he looked like. She knew she didn't want to be with him, but she also had what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I want this to be my first kiss anyways. I never want to talk about this guy again, but I want to kiss him.
Uh-huh.
It was an interesting, and the fact that the dad, your front 8 teeth? You've never thought of your front 8, have you?
Not,
because you have all of them.
Right.
Dude had one, and it was his right big tooth, and
Yeah.
it hung down over his lip.
Oh, man.
Yo, and so after the show, I said, hey, where you guys want to get something to eat? On me. He said, anything? I said, anything. He said, I'd love to eat a steak. And I said, I'd love to see you eat a steak. Because I was legit interested.
You're like, this is worth the entertainment value. This is going to be the most enjoyable steak I've never tasted,
Dude.
but I'm just going to watch.
Now, so to get to the point of why I told the story, we were walking backstage, and the guy is a huge Larry the Cable Guy fan, the dad, and I'm happy to introduce him. He's like, man, he's like my hero, and everybody in my town is super jealous. I'm meeting him. It's a town of like 1,500 people, and I was like, yeah, man. Come backstage after the show. I got them right in the third row, so they were right up there for him.
Man, yeah.
So he's backstage, and he gets up to meet Dan. Larry the Cable Guy's name is Dan Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks up, and Dan's just talking to people backstage. And the guy walks up to him and goes, hey, Larry? And Dan turns and goes, yeah. And he said, I just got one question for you. How come you speak with your fake accent back here, but your real accent on stage?
Oh, no.
And Cable Guy, when you are kind of not sure about somebody, so you don't want to take your eyes off them?
Yeah.
So he just is staring at him and says out loud to the room, who brought you? And I was like, I did. He was like, great. He was like, why don't we meet you guys later? And I go, that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Walked right out of there.
Let's just say that Dan, Larry the Cable Guy, has seen this person thousands of times in different markets.
That's exactly what he said to me.
Yeah. He's already seen this exact guy in every city across America that is crushed to find out that he is...
Dude.
No, because they're like, hey, man, I'm down on my luck. I can relate to somebody like this. This is a pure American man that I can identify with. And then he finds out, like, hey, man, how's it going? It's like, whoa.
Now, here's the thing.
World crumbling around you.
He still has the same belief system as Larry the Cable Guy.
Right.
It's just heightened.
Of
because
course.
he's playing a character.
It's a character.
Yeah. But I will tell you, one of the genius things about his character is that I asked him, I go, what's the best part of your character? He goes, man, I haven't had to wear a shirt in 20 years.
That's amazing.
He was like, how
he can
great
wear
is it?
whatever he wants.
Hat and sleeveless. He goes, I can wear whatever I want.
And
people are just
will
like,
not. Yeah, they'll let him in. Yeah.
At formal events, he
Club
goes, I
setting.
can wear a tuxedo T-shirt.
That's amazing. Yeah,
He-
that's a great. That's
Shows
a great
why.
little write-in on the contract.
Yeah.
Let's get into this next segment, Pizza Party.
I'm in.
Time for a pizza party.
Now, I've never had Joe's Pizza.
You've never had Joe's Pizza?
I'm a thin crust guy. Are you thin crust?
Yeah, I love thin crust.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, that's a thin crust, buddy.
Yeah, it's in New York. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm going to do something terrible. I'm going to take the pepperoni off.
Really?
I love, okay. So about 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with, and this is, have you talked to Dean Del Rey about diabetes ever?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the one who turned him.
Really?
I got him his book, and I got diagnosed with this as pre-diabetic, and I'm in pretty decent shape, you know what I mean? But I was eating 3 bags of Skittles a night, no joke, because I smoke a ton of weed. And the doctor was like, man, you got to pull back on all this shit. So since that time, I've just pulled back on, I know it's going to sound gross, I just pulled back on meat, you know? And so, but I love pizza, man. I'm going to eat the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it.
Oh, of
Does it
course.
bum you out that I'm taking the pepperoni off?
No, not at all.
Okay. Some people get like
I had a
really offended.
I had Stephen Kramer Glickman on last week,
Yep.
and I didn't check with him ahead of
Is he
time.
kosher?
He only eats veggie pizzas, so he's lactose intolerant. And I was like, well, this has been the pizza party segment. So
Yeah, some of us Jews, we have our tummies are a little finicky.
of course.
He is low key turned himself into one of the coolest, funkiest Jews I have ever come across.
Yeah, man.
There aren't a lot of funky Jews, but he has a little funk to him.
He has some flair, man.
Yeah, he
like,
really
you see him
does.
at red carpet events and stuff, and he wears bizarre stuff, and I love it.
I do too. Because also, let's be honest, when you don't look like Brad Pitt, sometimes you gotta be like, well, I'm probably still want to see some pussy, so I'm gonna shake it up a little bit.
Sure.
I'm gonna wear this boa and these big old glasses and these pink shoes. And women are like, that's hot.
I dressed up as Napoleon Dynamite for one of my high school dances.
Yeah, dude.
Went alone, but still was rocking it on the dance floor.
Did you have sex a lot in high school?
Dude, I did not. Yeah, you obviously don't know this about me. I didn't have sex until I was 22 years old. Josh just dropped his pizza.
Is that on purpose?
So it was at first.
Up until what age when you say it first?
So my late teens, I had this radio DJ that I was working for in Kansas City. I was working.
Johnny Dare.
No, but I know him.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I would work. I worked at one of the other stations, 96.5 The Buzz, which was right down the hall from 98.9 The Rock, Kansas City's rock station. And he would always see me, know, he was super nice and everything, and he'd always be like, "Hey, big handsome, how are you?" That's what he would just call me, big handsome, because he never learned my name, but he's just, but he recognized my face. You
Big
know what
handsome's
I mean?
better anyway.
Big handsome's better.
What if you had come out and your mom had been like, Big Handsome. First name Big, middle name Handsome.
Last name Watkins.
Big Handsome Watkins.
Big handsome Watkins.
You would be a great wrestler.
Well, during the
Big Handsome's not a terrible
Big Handsome's a pretty good wrestling name. I also have been somebody coined the nickname Big Beautiful Watkins, BBW, for me.
That's a good one.
It's pretty good, right?
Are you a fan of a bigger woman?
I
I am.
it's all right.
I am.
I've never been. So going back to, I've never been with a larger woman, so I guess I can't speak from experience. So 22, I lost my virginity, and that's the only woman that I had sex with is now my wife. So I lost my virginity at 22, and I married her 6 years later.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've seen one vagina in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, online you've seen a million.
I mean, what are we talking here? I mean,
Hard to put a number on that, really.
it's, I really don't want to talk about that. How many I've seen on the internet, I'm
Yeah.
not one of those guys that,
Jeremiah's Google search is calling
it is just filthy. I just literally, that's the only, Jeremiah, what kind of porn do you watch? I watch vagina porn. do you
What if that was a category? Just
Dude, there's somebody who doesn't know how to search for anything. He's like, I'm just gonna, what about vagina porn?
I've been searching Pornhub all day for vagina porn. None of it.
Nothing's coming up. I can't
Zero
find
vagina
anything.
porn.
Man, they got to fix their system.
I will tell you, to me, outside porn is such a crazy look at the human condition, and because there are so many, obviously different categories, but there are so many categories I look at where I'm like, what? How does that? Like, I don't like close-up porn. Just close-up of a penis going into a vagina is like, like when you drive in the desert and you see the oil drills or the wind
Yeah,
things.
it's like all it is. Like no stimulation.
Yeah, it's just like all that. So I look at some stuff, I'm like, I don't. Or the quick. Have you ever seen girls in quicksand?
Wait, what?
There's a fucking niche for girls in quicksand, and
That's a kind of porn?
yeah, but it's more like
Quicksand
photo
porn?
shots. But they love to see them naked, sinking. It's weird
What?
shit, dude. Yeah,
How did you find this?
don't worry about it.
Dude, I've been stuck on vagina porn this whole time. There's quicksand porn? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man, quicksand porn. Get in it.
Wow.
Get
That's
in it.
crazy. Yeah, dude. So I lost my virginity at 22. So I try to not look at that stuff online because I mean, I don't know. I feel like you can just, I don't know. If you look at that stuff too much, then you just, I don't know if dirty is the right word, but do you
agree
know
with
what
you.
I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like you being married for a while, like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's good to as a release every once in a while, like if you're on the road or or whatever. But I try not to do
Probably
it
not at
too
your house.
much.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah, and it also as you get older and you also are aware of time, you're like, is that how I'm spending my time?
Right.
That's what I'm gonna
You
do.
start reflecting. You're like,
That's
I just wasted
3 hours clicking on vagina porn. Like, really? And then sometimes, even if you are looking,
I look up boob porn too. It's so crazy. Dude, have you ever seen boob porn? It's like these girls like show their TTs online.
yeah, and then people do things with their boobs. It's
Dude,
so great.
it's so crazy.
I will tell you, okay. You want to hear a sexual encounter here over pizza? Is it going to be gross?
No, go for it, dude.
So, you said you've never been with a bigger woman. The biggest woman that I've ever been with. Well, hard to say, but I'm going to...
Let's just say she had a lot of dough.
Yeah, dude.
And not money.
There's a couple in the running, but I'm going to tell you the story about... So I had always I'd always just wanted to have sex once with a bigger black woman. Like, big.
Sure.
Like, do you know who Nell Carter is?
Nope.
Google her.
Okay.
Yeah, just a short, big woman. So I was bartending in upstate New York, and this woman comes in the bar. She's in the bar, beautiful woman, super funny, very engaging. And she's at the end of the bar basically all night. I'm going down, and about I don't know, 12 or 1. I'm like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Yeah, I got stood up," and I was like, "Oh, that's terrible." I go, "Well, I'll buy you drinks tonight." She said, "Okay." So I'm buying her drinks. I'm not even thinking anything because she's so funny, dude. She was like legitimately, when somebody surprises you with how funny you're like, wow, you're actually like,
You're actually funny. I'm around comedians all the time.
yeah,
but
and you're like, you're a funny person.
yeah, this is cool.
So I was super excited just to keep talking to her. And I'm cleaning up. I go, hey. And every night after the shift, I would go get eggs and pancakes and shit. And I go, you want to go and grab some food with me? And I'll pay. I was like, fuck that guy. She goes, yeah, I'll go with you. So we go and we're eating pancakes and she's laughing and she's dipping her bacon in syrup and then in butter and then eating it.
And you're like, this is so hot.
I wasn't even thinking we were going to have sex because we were having such a good time. And I thought, there's no way she wants to have sex with me. And she takes a bite of this pancake and she goes, chewing it like this.
Oh.
And she goes, "We fucking or what?"
What?
And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Yeah, let me finish this bacon, girl." But it was,
Let's just say she ordered Josh Wolf to go.
I will tell you something right now. There were a couple positions that were completely different with someone that large.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't hit it from the back, can you?
Oh, you can.
Just a lot of...
Yeah, there was a pillow involved. And
interesting.
stuff like that. And just like on top is a little different too, because on top you're hoisted up further than you're used to being.
Dude, were you levitating at
You know
one
what
point?
I mean? You're hoisted up a little more.
Dude, you're like Harry Potter on a broomstick.
Yeah, dude, like my arms were barely touching the bed, kind of like they were like, you know what I mean?
Wingardium Levioso. You're like, you're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, it was pretty great. But yeah, there were, you know, by the time I got married, there was really only one type of person on the list that I never got to have sex with that I just always wanted to. Just because, like, for me, I was always like, look, I'm on this rock one time.
Right.
Why aren't I trying everything?
Yeah.
So the one, I never had sex with a little person,
So
and I wanted to.
you said that the story involved pizza somehow.
Oh, no. I was just saying, do you want to hear it over pizza? Yeah. Had nothing to do with pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, had nothing to do with pizza.
Well, this concludes the segment Pizza Party.
I forgot that part.
Hilarious.
Pizza, 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 pizza. This has been the pizza party.
Now, I did want to play for you if I get a chance.
Yeah.
And it fits in the segment.
Oh,
I do want to play for you a song that I've been playing live to give you an example of the type of songs I'm playing live and just to get your opinion, because you know what I'm not good at, and Josh Adam Myers is so good at? I can't get it out of my head that my songs need to rhyme. Do you know what I mean? And he's so good at just being, and you both are, but he'll do songs at the jam and when he's riffing it out and it doesn't rhyme at all and people are still enjoying it.
yeah.
I just can't get it out of my head that my songs have to rhyme. Is that wrong?
I'm going to say yes, because I took musical improv classes. One of the things I've took like over my time doing improv. They said,
Oh, I would love to take one of those classes. Where do they do that?
they do them at Second City. They do them.
Really?
Yeah. That's where I did like 3 or 4 levels of music improv
I would
classes.
love to do that.
Yeah, you should do it. So this is one of the things that they teach in the class. They say, do not ever force a rhyme. If the rhyme is something that's like sloppy and not meant to be, they said it's always better to just commit to a different line and get back to the rhyme on a different line. Because sometimes people think you're going for the rhyme, and it can be a nice surprise that you don't play into that. Sometimes it's better to just plow, like what you're saying, Josh Adam Myers. He commits,
Yeah.
and he doesn't worry about rhyming, and he'll get to the rhyme later if it actually comes. But it takes you out of it if you're watching the show and it's a bad rhyme or it's something that you can see the wheels turning on the performer's head. Do you know what I mean?
That's
So
very
it's
interesting.
it's a training thing. It's all it is. It's a repetition training thing. So if you do it enough and you're not feeling the rhyme in that moment, just plow forward and just say something else and then get back to the rhyme later.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're
It's
right.
a repetition. It's just a repetition thing.
It's also a bit of a, for me, it's part of being. It's a little scarier to do that because it doesn't fit the formula.
yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I've really been trying harder to do that. Like I've really been bringing my guitar on stage and being like, okay, everybody, give me an idea, and I'm gonna see what happens.
So play that song, and I'm gonna ask you some questions in this next segment, and then we'll wrap up with the final sax talk segment after that. We'll try to.
So this song.
'Cause I don't know what your time restrictions are, but
Is it any way I can get out of here in 25 minutes?
yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. This song I wrote, I didn't even write, my daughter wrote. This is the type of stuff I do, either song stories or things like this that tell you about a certain time in my life. So this song I wrote, my daughter wrote. I just put it to music. It's a poem she wrote when she was like 6.5 years old after we bought her a cat. And she wrote a poem and did it at a talent show in front of her school, 500 people. And this is the exact song the poem she wrote. I just put it to music. No editing. Ooh, I love her, my pussy. I like to hug her, my pussy. Yeah, my pussy likes to run around. My pussy, she makes the cutest sounds of my pussy. She can be scary, my pussy. She's really hairy, my pussy. Yeah, my pussy sleeps right on my chest, and my pussy, she likes my brother best of my pussy. She's as happy as can be. Yeah, she's part of the family. And she likes to sleep all over the place. Yeah, my pussy, she'll lick your face. Yeah, my pussy, she'll lick your face. So, I've been doing songs like that.
That's amazing. Unedited from your daughter. That's such a funny poem to read in front of just an auditorium full of people.
So listen, as soon as she opens with, ooh, I love her, my pussy, I turn to my wife, I'm like, we got to go. She said, why? I'm like, as a performer, I'm just telling you, if she opened with my pussy, it gets worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better. Right? As soon as you hear my pussy in the first line, you're like, that's the chorus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That means we're coming back to that. And my wife was like, if we leave, she's going to be really mad. And I said, okay. So, and we live in a time with some judgy parents.
Oh, of course.
So people are...
Wow, great performance by your daughter, Josh.
People are just walking out,
really
shaking their
an
head.
Interesting interpretation of, I don't know, if...
Son woman.
Aren't you, you're that comedian fella, aren't you?
I think we're going to cancel today's play date.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have other little kids at your house often, or
Now, should I be calling Child Protective Services? Or...
It was one woman walked up to me, so mad, dude. She was like, "You really ought to proofread your daughter's poetry,
Your daughter's talent before it comes to the stage."
Yeah,
and you're like, sorry, my daughter, my daughter's talent's really raw. I don't really.
She was legitimately mad.
That's so funny,
dude. Her husband, as she walks away, high-fived me and he goes, "Your house sounds fun," and just high-fived me, and I was like,
Heck
"Yes,
yeah.
my man."
Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting me do that. But that's the kind of like I would like to get out of the rhymey and be more free flowy, because with my stories and my stand-up,
Do you ever tell stories with guitar underneath?
I tell stories with the guitar in song version, but I never tell stories just strumming. Huh. You feel like that will loosen it up a little bit?
I mean, I think that it would be an interesting experiment for you to do, because kind of like, why not? Like,
yeah, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I'll do it with a new story too.
Try it. Yeah, be like, hey, there's a new story I'm trying out with.
Yeah. That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Anyway,
all right.
This next segment is called Fanning Out.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
I reached out to people on the Instagram and Twitterverse and asked them if they could ask Josh Wolf any question. What would it be? And this first question comes from at MikeNot24 on Instagram. Can you tell us a funny story about when Joey Diaz used to babysit your kids?
Sure. So this is my favorite one. I'm sure some people have heard this one. Joey used to babysit my kids. People ask me all the time, why would you let Joe Diaz babysit your kids? I was at a time in my life where I was making $1,000 a month. I lived in one room with my 3 kids. I was a single dad. And so I couldn't afford a babysitter. But also, the thing about Joey is that, he was not maybe the most straight down the middle babysitter I probably gotten. But I will tell you something about my babysitter that was better than your babysitter, is that my babysitter wasn't getting paid, and he still would have jumped in front of a bus for my kids. At the end of the day, not the most conventional. He wasn't taking them to the park. They probably heard language they didn't want to hear. But at the end of the day, if it was between him dying and them dying, he was going to pick him. That was the most important thing.
Yeah.
All right? So I come home once. And the deal was, I would come here and do early sets. And then I'd go back and Joey would go out and do. And so I walk into the house once and Joey doesn't wear underwear. And he bent over and his ass crack was showing. And my daughter ripped some hairs out of his ass crack.
Oh my God.
And she goes, how many? And he goes, I felt like 5 that time. I go, that time? What do you mean that time?
Is this a game that you guys play?
And he goes, she loves that game. I go, yeah, but I fucking hate it, dude.
Yeah, that's not a game.
Don't you have Sorry or Monopoly?
Did you inspire her to write the pussy song? What's going on?
Connect 4 also. Really good game.
Yeah.
Really good game. But yeah, that's my favorite Joe Diaz babysit sign.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. I think Joey is calling in right now.
Oh.
Hey, cocksucker, how you doing?
Oh, what's going on, Joey? How are you, man? You remember that?
Of course I remember that, yeah. I have to do a little confession for you, Josh.
Yeah.
The way I tucked your kids in, it wasn't the most conventional way.
What do you mean?
I'd say, nighty-night, cocksuckers. I'm going to tuck you in, okay?
No. I kind of knew that's the way it went.
And then I also threatened to put chloroform down their throats if they didn't fall asleep before you got home.
Yeah. I think that this little part, because I heard my oldest son say to my youngest son, don't be a pussy. So I think that probably might have come from you, too.
The little chip off the old block.
You know what I loved about Joey, too? He used to say things to them that didn't make sense. Like if they were talking...
But teach it as like a musing on life?
Okay. So he had sayings. So we were in the car once, and the kids were being loud in the back seat. He goes, little kids talk when chickens pee. And I said, what?
What is that, Joey? What does that mean?
I go, what does that mean? He goes, nothing, but they shut up, right? And I was like, okay.
I mean, you're just creating sayings.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I got about 1 million of those.
Hey, the clock strikes midnight. You're on your period again.
Yeah, exactly. He used to tell me, I got a memory like a hawk. I'm like, no, you don't. That's not it. But go ahead.
Like hawks have memories?
Yeah, I think it's eyesight. No, you know what he told me? I go, I think it's memory. He goes, Josh Wolf, a hawk leaves a tree every day, flies around the forest, among trees that look exactly the same, but finds its way back to the same fucking tree. That's a pretty good memory. And I was like, nah, I can't argue with that. I guess I can't argue with that.
Yeah. That's solid logic right there. There you go, Joey.
It really wasn't like, I was like, yeah, that's true.
Okay, I guess.
Okay,
trees do look alike.
I'm going to buy into that, sure.
At John Monjardin from Instagram asks, what was your best moment as a single dad?
Wow. Best. I don't know how to quantify that.
It's a hard.
Do you want to be more specific, Jeremiah? Because there's so many things and areas I could pick from. Do you mean?
Was there a moment? So I guess I'll phrase it this way. Was there a moment where when you were a single dad and you were pursuing comedy, where you had a moment where you looked at your kids and you were having this moment where you just had this like calmness flow over you, like everything's great right now, everything's gonna be okay, and everything's gonna work out? Okay,
it came right after a moment. It almost came a month after a moment where I was like, oh, this is it. I can't do this anymore. So about a month before that, like I said, making $1,000, $1,200 a month. I was catering, living in one room with the 3 kids. We lived across from the Guitar Center down here in Sunset.
And how old were you at this time?
20s.
Mm-hmm.
And
what ages were the kids, like around that time, whenever? Just for
7, 5, and 2, 6, 4, and 1.
Wow.
So, and I was talking to my dad, and he said, look, I know this is what you want to do, and I know these are your dreams, and at what point are you just being selfish? He said, if it was just you, I wouldn't even make this phone call, but at what point do you have to start thinking about the 3 kids, and that 1 meal a day doesn't cut it? It just doesn't cut it, and all living in one room just doesn't cut it. And at what point are you going to decide that your dreams are selfish? And he was like, I'm not telling you this to be an asshole. And you know what? He was right. It was something I had been mulling over with myself because honestly, how far am I going to take them down this road?
Yeah.
The kids. Do they deserve this? Do you know what I mean? So I had decided that what was also important to me was for them to see that it was okay not to quit, and it was okay to struggle, and it was okay to still believe in yourself even when nobody was telling you that that was a smart move. Now, how long was I going to do that? I didn't know, and they were still pretty young to kind of grasp all those things.
Right.
So that was another thing where I was like, okay, they don't even know we're poor. It takes to be about 10 years old.
Yeah, until you start talking to other kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you don't have bologna every day for lunch?
Right. And the truth of the matter is, like at our house, even though we didn't have as much shit as those other kids, it was more fun. So the kids didn't care. Now, when they got older, it was like this, I got to sleep in the room with the rest.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe a month and a half later, this is when one-man shows were still a thing. And I put one on about being a single dad. Man, I don't know that I've ever told this before. And I am not a religious dude. Okay. I believe in energy. I will say that. And I loaded basically my entire hopes and dreams in that month that my dad talked to me about this one-man show that I've been writing for about 6 months. And I was in my brain thinking, okay, if nothing comes of this, I really got to start thinking about what my dad said, you know? But I really had confidence in the show and the story I was telling. And I was driving. It was at the old HBO theater down over here in Hollywood. And I'm driving there at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to, I want to sit there early, set up, and really, my windows are down because I was in a car that had no air conditioning. And I'm at a stoplight. And not kidding, dude, a feather floats down, white feather, floats down from the sky and floats into the driver's side window and lands on my lap. And I was like, what the fuck? Like a
where does this come
white
from?
Feather.
A white?
And I was like, that, and I'm not a sign guy, and I don't believe any of that. But, okay. The song, Feather, Feeling All Right, comes on the radio by Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be fine. There was something that those two, that combination at that time, I was like, this show's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. People are going to like this show. You're going to do all right. I got my first TV deal a week after the show. A week after the show. But it was like that moment. I know that sound, because I'm not that dude, man. I'm not that guy at all to believe in that shit.
I am that guy, so I just got chills.
Are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was so amazing for that to happen at once on that day.
You need those moments in life sometimes.
Because whether they're real or not, the fact that it fuels you with belief and confidence.
Of course.
I really believe that it set my mind at ease. Whether it was true or not, or just coincidence, it allowed me to deliver the show with such confidence and such power that
They got you that deal and everything.
I had offers from NBC, ABC, and Fox. It was the big at the time. It was an unprecedented deal, and it was because when I walked in there, I had already known everything would be okay. It was crazy. I think that's the first time I've ever told that story.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think one of the reasons I don't tell it is because it sounds so. It's not something that I would like. I don't believe in the signs, and this is what. But it was such a powerful moment for me.
I'm all about that. I 100%
Were you
believe in
raised
signs.
religious?
I was raised religious. Yeah. So whenever there's certain moments like that in life, it's like it's that fuel that you need, like to get to the next step. You don't know why certain bad things are happening in your life, but there's little moments like that, and maybe sometimes you even build them up in your head. But you get out of it, and then things start happening positively again. You're like, "Wow, that was real. That was a real thing that happened."
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was interesting. It really did. It changed my life. That one little moment changed the trajectory of my life. Because if that show had gone bad, I may not be here. I may have left the town.
That's awesome. Let's do this last question, and. Wow, man, there's so many good questions.
Did you get that one from Josh Wolf Comedy?
There was one from Josh Wolf Comedy. Why am I flexing so hard in this pic? So I took it down already, but because I didn't want it living on my Instagram or my Twitter. The picture that I used of Josh Wolf is him grabbing the small of his wrist and all the blood flowing to his bicep and him just laughing.
Just so you know, it looks like I set it up to flex like that.
Oh, God.
It just was the perfect shot.
Oh, dude, it's so great. Yeah. So Josh asked, why am I flexing so hard in this pic? Which I was like, well, this is the first guest to ask himself a question on the podcast, so I have to ask Josh why he was flexing so hard in the picture.
Well, because it was a picture, one of the few pictures taken with me without a hat. So I was trying to distract as much as I could by doing a weird big laugh, trying to flex it out. So people weren't like, look at that forehead. Why is his forehead so enormous? My forehead, dude, is like, it's aggressive. But I think if I ever gotten more fights, I would start to use it as my defense. If you want to throw a punch, hit the forehead. See what happens.
Yeah, your hand's going to shatter.
Yeah, off of this thing, yeah.
All right, final question, then we'll get into the final segment. This guy is just asking for your advice, which I think is cool. At Real VLR Jr. on Instagram. I just did my second open mic. Do you have any advice? How did you find motivation starting out? I drove 2 hours for 4 minutes last night for a crowd of probably 20 people, and most of them were open micers as well.
Yeah, get used to that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially depending on where you live. If it sounds like you drove 2 hours, it means you don't live in a place that has stage and has mics. So here's what I would say to you. It's the only advice anybody who's starting comedy needs to know. Get on stage.
Yeah.
That's it. Because you just said, how am I going to know? You're going to know when you get on stage. When you drove 2 hours and you got on stage for those other comedians, those other open micers, and you left, did you think to yourself, I can't wait to do that again? Or did you think, what the fuck am I doing? And that'll give you your answer. I really think so. If you are questioning whether you should drive another 2 hours to get on stage, then you don't want to be a stand-up.
Yeah,
or
because
move
especially
especially
at the very beginning, because like if you're not excited, regardless of how it went, if you're not excited to do it again, that's not a good sign. You got to be in love with it.
And look, this is coming from a guy, I'm talking about Jeremiah. What time are your spots here at the store?
Most of them are after 1 a.m. where they're like they're between 12:45 and 1:15 a.m.
And let's add a little more difficulty to that, shall we? Last night's lineup went, and I'm messing up the order, but went Whitney Cummings, Bobby Lee, Joe Rogan, Jeff Ross, Joey Diaz, Fahim. Now you've followed all of the monsters.
Yeah.
And now the crowd not only is tired, most of them have left.
But they've seen some of literally the best comedy in the world.
Ever. So they're tired from laughing for probably an hour and a half straight, at least.
Yep.
A lot of them have left. So whoever's left, those people, I don't even know, honestly, I've never understood why they stay. But they're tired. A lot of arms crossed. People probably still not drinking at 1 a.m. They're coming down a little bit. And so I have such respect for you guys. And I believe me, did my fair share of those spots. And that's how Mitzi tested me, I think, actually. Because she knew for me to get out at 1 a.m. with those 3 kids was damn near impossible. So how are you going to do it?
Well, do you have, like, would she give you any kind of notes or feedback after you'd come off stage?
Oh, yeah. The first one when I showcased for her.
Yeah.
She would sit in that chair and she would either call you over or not call you over.
Yeah.
So it was Wheels. Maybe Wheels was here at the time, and he was like, Mitzi wants to talk to you. So I walk up, I go, how are you? She goes, you're really funny. I said, thank you. She said, in handsome, you remind me of a young Steve Gutenberg. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a great compliment. Yeah. Steve Gutenberg was king of the 80s, and I love Gutenberg.
I was like, I'm on board for Steve Gutenberg. But I thought she was like, when do you want to get on stage? But what she said to me, which I didn't know was a compliment at the time, I would like you to start working the door. Because in her mind, you learn by watching the best.
Yeah.
And so when she tells you to work the door, it wasn't because she hated you. It was because
she was trying to groom you. Yeah.
And then she would give you those spots. If it's 1 a.m. and you're making people laugh in the OR, you're funny. You're funny. You're funny because you can't just get up and do material.
You have to be. You're forced to. If the and all the time I have to abandon material. I will try to go in
dude.
with some bits, but at that late at night,
no.
you literally have to give them a variety show to keep their attention.
You also have to trick them into material.
Yep.
I do that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
On the road, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I want to see how I can get into this story.
Sure.
If I can trick you through talking to you, I can lead you to my story. It makes the story that
so
much
organic,
better.
yeah.
Makes it that much better.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But that way I say, man, get on stage. And if you live in a place that doesn't have mics, either make your own. There's a coffee shop there.
Yeah.
Make your own mic. And it doesn't have to be straight stand-up. If you don't have enough stand-up people, just call it an open mic. People can read poetry, do whatever. But I always tell people, if you're not in a town with mics, make one. Make a mic. People will, especially in a smaller town, they want that shit.
Hey, man, I ran my own mic and did random shows around LA for
Yeah,
years.
me too, dude.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
I will tell you right now, and I've seen, we both have seen people in this town blow places up. To this day, a room I booked, it used to be a place called, it was right down the street here. Fuck. Anyways, it was the first time I ever saw Rogan. And he had brought Billy Gardell in with him. And Rogan was closing out the show. I forget what it's called. It's the Den now down the street here.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And it was just a tiny little room, and we had to open the doors because it got so hot, but it was sweaty in there. It was right next to, anyways. And Rogan got up, and probably in front of 90 people, crammed in, 100 crammed in. But this was the best room. It was like what Dublin used to be. It was right before Dublin. It was the best room, and Rogan blew that. I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I'll ever do that to a room. There are some guys that just can
They have that thing.
Yeah, they just light the fuse. And you can see it coming, and you're watching it. You're like, oh, fucking here it comes.
Yeah.
And he blew. I will tell you why he amazes me, man. And why he's such an interesting person for me. What a crazy combination of discipline and curiosity. Do you know what I mean?
He's constantly wanting to learn.
It's so admirable
And develop, yeah.
for a guy to be where he is in life, but still have such an unquenchable appetite for knowledge. So the combination of curiosity and discipline is, to me, the best combination for success, because I'm always going to try to get better. But I am going to make sure that when I'm trying to get better, I'm going to do everything I can that I know how to do to make that happen. And that's what he combines those two. And that's why he's so fucking good, I think, at everything he does. Outside of the fact that he's so smart and all that other shit. But
Yeah.
all right, man.
This brings us to our final segment.
Hit me.
Sax Talk. Oh, Sax Talk. So we're going to try something, this is the first time doing this. I'm going to play some sweet, sweet saxophone, and Josh has his guitar, so we're going to do a little jam sesh while he tells a story of a sexual encounter that happened to him.
All right. Well, I was out at a bar one night, and I met a girl. We got a little drunk. And then I took her home, and her breath was so bad. But I'm no quitter. So I brought her into the kitchen, and I offered her a scoop of peanut butter. Because I said, doesn't peanut butter taste good? And she said, I don't like peanut butter. And I said, are you sure? Because peanut butter would really go good right now. And she said, I don't want peanut butter, but I'll have some of those Doritos. And I thought, well, fuck. Do you want some milk to wash that down with? And then we started making out. Things going well. And I was on top of her. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to get laid. And then I tried to switch positions. And my elbow hit her stomach. And she threw up right in my face. Projectile style. But to make it worse, that button in her stomach also made her shit at the same time. And, but I told her, I just want you to know, not a deal breaker for me. Like, if you want to go clean yourself up, I'm still down for some action. And she said, definite deal breaker for me. I'd like to go home now. And she blamed me for making her eat peanut butter. And that's why she threw up. So I would say the moral of this story, Jeremiah, is don't dig your elbow into somebody's stomach when you want to have sex with them.
That was mesmerizing.
I tried to push up, and I pushed right, and she obviously wasn't expecting it, and it made her throw up and shit at the same time.
Dude.
I pushed on her, and she was like, oh, and it was like a heavy
Just a
stream.
It like a super soaker of vomit.
Made that noise on my face, but she also shit at the same time, dude.
And you're like, dude, this is my favorite kind of porn, dude.
Is this vagina porn?
Dude, is this what vagina porn is? Dude, thanks so much for doing the show, buddy.
I had a really good time, man. Thank you very much for inviting me down.
Yeah, I hope you come back and do it. Is there anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Well, I do a podcast with Freddie Prinze Jr. called Prince and the Wolf, which is on iTunes. My road gigs are on comedianjoshwolf.com. I'm going to be starting a show on Twitch called Controlled Chaos, which is basically what it sounds like. It's gonna be just weird shit, and I've already invited Jeremiah to come down and do a bunch of weird shit with us.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We got Avery Pearson's coming down. My son is my co-host.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good time. So, man, we can't wait for you to join us.
Yeah, I'm excited. Love you, buddy. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you.